Hi, and welcome to the Oak Grove United Methodist Church podcast. I'm Krisy Kuo, the Director of Senior Adult Ministry here at Oak Grove. And we are doing a series celebrating our older adults at Oak Grove United Methodist Church that we're calling Sage Stories, celebrating the wisdom and grace of senior adults at Oak Grove United Methodist Church. I'm here today with Mr. Avery Severt. He is a longtime member of Oak Grove. He is also a Korean War veteran, and he has some really great stories and things to tell us, and also some great things to share about his life in the church and what the church means for the community. So, Avery, with that, welcome to the podcast. I'm glad to be here with you today.
Thank you.
So let's start out with just talking about who you are and how you got here.
Well, we moved to Atlanta in 1959, then went to a church over in Decatur for a while, and then we moved out in North Lake area where I met a neighbor of ours and invited us to come to one of the socials of the old Drayton Sunday School class. And that's, like to say, that's the end of the story because I stayed with them for 50 years and served in many of the capacity of treasurer of the class for 4 or 5 times. And also I've been associated with the Sunday school, counting the money for over 50 years with my wife, Betty. She was there for 40 years. And only thing about that, doing the money and the attendance at Sunday school was that we failed to get to go to Sunday school. And I missed that, and Betty did too. But when we came to the church in the 60s, we had roughly 900 members. And Dan Rice came in as the pastor, and after that, we moved up to nearly 2,800 in about a 2-year period. And that's when we discovered that we had to have more space because we was running double Sunday schools at that time, 9:45 and also at 11.
And you were alternating, so some people would go to Sunday school while other people went to church,
That's
and then
right.
you'd flip-flop, right?
That's right. And you had double teachers, too. One teacher would teach one, and one would teach the other class.
Now, tell me about your family a little bit. You met your wife, Betty, before you moved here. You were already married before moving to Atlanta.
Yes, we was married in 1954. In fact, it'll be 70 years just in a few days. We've been married 70 years, but and I loved every minute of it, and her too. And we have one child. She lives in New York, and we have one grandson. He lives in New York, which is very long way away for us. We miss him tremendous, but we talk very often.
So you're also an Army veteran, a veteran of the Korean War, as I understand it.
Yes, that's right. I was in the Korean War in 1950 and 52. Was wounded and spent over a year in the hospital. And I came out a better man in the long run, I guess, even though I lost the use of one arm. And the good Lord's good to me. He's been good to me. I thank him every day for my survivor and living through it, because I could very easily not made it because I did have a head wound and was completely unconscious for over a month. And I was thinking that I don't know if I was inconscious. I just don't remember anything for 2 months. That's what it was. But everything comes along good. We just kept on doing what we had to do.
Yeah. You gave me this bulletin that from one of the reunions that you had from your platoon leader, who said that to have seen the helmet that the shrapnel hit that you were wearing, you wouldn't believe that somebody survived that, because you just told me a moment ago it went in one side and out the other. Yeah. So that's something that you survived that.
Well, the good Lord had another plan for me. He wanted me to hang around a little longer.
A little longer, yeah. So after you returned from the war, you met your wife, Betty. You were married. You had a daughter. What was your career? What did you do from there? What after you
I
returned?
worked 37 years for Equifax as a field auditor, traveling 5 or 6 states doing workman compensation audits and different things like that.
Mm-hmm. So you also told me that you were on the finance committee for the church. So and that was your favorite committee that you served on. So you had the skill from your career that you were able to use in service with the church.
Yes, well, one funny thing about that was we was in a meeting one day, and Peoples was the finance man at that time, and he reported to us, and he came up with a $4 bill that we didn't know what it was, and I wanted to know what it was. And I thought that was very funny, $4 on $1 million budget. But he called me back later and said it was a expense that the bank had charged on the thing. It was kind of funny that that happened that way.
That's interesting. So among other things that you've done at the church, you were involved in the building committee for they call it, I think we learned in a previous podcast episode about the Decision 66, where they decided we needed more space, as you said, and built the new sanctuary.
Yeah.
So tell me what that was like, being on the building committee.
Well, I was just a small cog in the wheel because I was just one of the low guys. As far as decision, it wasn't very much decision to be made because it was just necessary. And we built the sanctuary at that time. And the Sunday that had the first service in the church, Charlie Jones and I was the one counting the church money that morning. And they brought a box about 10 times big as the shoebox in that was to go through, and the envelopes and cash and money to do. And Charlie and I was here till about 4 o'clock that day, getting that organized and taking it to the deposit, the ninth deposit at that time. We made it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, you said you were a cog in the wheel, but that wheel turned, and here we are.
Yeah, well. I'm a firm believer you need to be in church every Sunday. And we've tried to do that, and pretty well successful going to the 8:30 service.
Yeah, talking about church attendance, you brought these framed certificates in. So church attendance, I think, is something you're proud of. Can you tell me about these, what these are?
Yes, that's a little plaque. When I was in 1948, they gave me one of those, and it's there's 5 Sundays in February every 28 years. And I've got one in my church in Virginia when I was just a young man. And then we got another one when Charles Anderson, not Anderson, but Charles Bolden was a senior pastor here, and I brought the one I had from Virginia to him, and I suggested to him that they might be good to have one for that. I think it was 78, if I'm not mistaken. And then Mary Lou had one printed up for the last one we had, so we'll have a total of 3, and I keep them. I'm very proud to say that I was in church every Sunday and Sunday school.
And you still attend church regularly,
We
right?
come every Sunday, and we had, unless sometimes sickness or something, but we have very lucky to be able to come every Sunday.
And which service do you attend?
We come to the 8:30 service. It's a habit, not because of anything particular, just as a habit.
And you got to commune with friends, break bread together.
That's very true. There's many things that have happened to us over the years. When I retired, I never picked up a golf club in my life, and then all of a sudden, Dixon Glover, a member of the Sunday school class, invited me to play golf with him, and I didn't know one stick from the other one. I didn't call them clubs. I called them sticks at that time. So I joined the Atlanta Senior Association and played golf with Dixon and some, and come to find out we had 18 people from the church had joined it. So we had fellowship with them at all times, and that made it very interesting that we never had to worry about getting a foursome together.
So that strikes me that you got involved in some hobbies that maybe you wouldn't have tried otherwise, but some people, some friends from church invited you and you said yes. And those became great experiences and memories that you have and can share now.
I played golf with many people in the association. Many of them was from the church, of course, because we would carpool from the parking lot here, so we wouldn't have to drive individually. We played at a lot of different courses. I played with anywhere from a judge to a 4-star general to a doctor and some peons just like me.
If there is someone visiting Oak Grove or considering visiting Oak Grove, or somebody who might be attending for a while now, what would be your advice to them about showing up at Oak Grove?
My advice to anyone to come to any church, and especially Oak Grove, was to get involved. Get in a Sunday school class. Get to know individual people. Join a fellowship when they have some kind of a little get-together. But you have to be in a Sunday school class or some organization in the church to be active in the church other than just sitting in church 1 hour every Sunday.
So what do you get from Sunday school class? What is it? How does it fulfill you?
Well, Sunday school class, of course, we always have and the ones we had always had someone teach the Sunday school class, and usually they would teach different things from the Bible, of course, and we would get benefits from that, and then also we could check on our own self what we're looking into. If they happen to say something we do not exactly understand, we can go and look it up in the Bible and usually find it to be true. And like I said, you have to get involved. For myself, I was always a finance guy, and I was a treasurer of the reading class, I guess 5 or 6 times. They used to rotate it every 6 months or something like that. And I've done that for many, many years. When I was counting Sunday school money, many times somebody would come in the hallway. I'm usually standing out in the hall waiting on the money to be delivered to us. And they'd say, where is the certain class? Or I've got a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old. Where do I take her? And many times I just go with them to the class and say, this is the class I think your child would like to be in. Yeah.
So we have a lot of Sunday school classes for all different ages. If you're interested in finding out what those classes are, you can find them on the church website, and there's a brief description of each. You could also stop by the portico desk and get more information about Sunday school classes. And Avery has also mentioned that he was involved in teaching Sunday school to the children. I am also involved in that. And that's also a great way to just connect with people of different ages. So you've had a lot of important contributions to the church, and it sounds like the church has also been a really important part of your life.
It's all important. Everything's important about the church, the life. And I was raised that way. And my mother, she believed in her children going to the church. And we didn't even think about, I'm not going today or I will go today. It's just routine. And it's like anything else. It's a habit.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, it's a habit coming at 8:30 because I just got a habit doing it. And getting up early is no problem with me. I mean, I might stay up until 12 o'clock watching a baseball game and still get up and come to church.
What I've heard you say a lot is being involved with the church and the ministries of the church is important for living a life of faith and fostering your community of faith. And there's lots of ways you can get involved at Oak Grove. We have our Oak Grove, if you visit the website and look at the news page, ogumc.org/news. There's lots of ways that people of all ages can get involved. So I encourage everyone to look at where you might fit in, or see one of the church staff, one of the pastors, and see which ways might fit well for you.
Well, one thing that I always think about, there's a lot of people watch the church on computers and television and so forth. But one thing I've got a habit of doing, I don't make any big effort to it. When I walk into the sanctuary, sometime during that service, I look up at that cross. I said, "Thank you, Lord, for letting me be here for another day." I've been doing that for many years. It might be in the middle of a song, but it just hits me to do that every day. That's one of my habits.
Each day we live is a privilege.
Well, on the 50th anniversary of the ending of the Korean War, I received a letter from the president of South Korea. And evidently it was sent to all veterans at that time, and thanking us for saving their country, is what he said in that letter.
I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation together, Avery.
Well, I hope I didn't rattle too much.
No. And you've lived a life of service for which we're all grateful. And we just love to celebrate and continue celebrating your life and your involvement in Oak Grove.
Well, Betty and I both, she's my backbone, let's face it, because she keeps me straight.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us for today's edition of the Oak Grove United Methodist Church podcast. I'm Krisy Kuo, and I was here with Avery Severt, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.